you're here to attend, promote the Genesis Code.
Yes.
And what does that mean to you, and how did you get involved with it? And
Well, I think the reason that they asked me to get involved with it was because they were trying to promote a film that competes with Hollywood. As conservatives, we're always complaining that Hollywood
Right.
doesn't give us family fare, and so instead of complaining, let's compete. Let's bring something to the public square that actually presents a message that we want our children to get a hold of, and actually our society. And so they called me and said, we think that we can get the most press recognition, or at least interest, if we do it in some politically charged venues. And so it was by design that they chose Iowa, South Carolina, New Hampshire,
Right.
and of course Nevada, and that completes that 4-state early caucus primaries cycle. And then they said, of course, if we get someone who has a little bit of political, well, I guess draw or curiosity,
right.
that will even make the press coverage even greater. And so they asked me if I would do this, and they're not paying me to do this.
Right.
I know that lots of people think this is my job.
Yeah.
I think that most people have probably figured that out about me, that I do things for the principle.
Right.
And I think that this is really something that's worthy.
Who is Sharron Angle, other than what we know from a national presence?
Oh, besides
your
that
elected
that I
your
campaigned
Yeah.
to defeat Harry Reid and
Yes.
and well,
That pretty much puts your name ID at about 100.
Right, and of course that mission goes on. You know, the mission was always to remove Harry Reid from leadership in the Senate, and I will be helping Senate candidates to take over the majority in the Senate at the federal level in 2012. So the mission remains the same. I don't feel that he needs to be in leadership, and I think that the country is pretty much united behind that effort as well, from what we've seen in 2010. But just basically who I am as a person, I was born in Klamath Falls, Oregon, and we moved to Reno, Nevada. My family did when I was 3 years old. My mother and dad bought a family business there. We owned a small motel in South Reno, and my brothers and I grew up there, making beds, cleaning bathrooms, hanging laundry, sweeping floors, all those things that you do as a family to keep a family business going. And then I graduated from high school there and went on to the University of Nevada, Reno. I was an art major, thinking that I would go on to be a fashion designer, and in my senior year I met a fellow that I just couldn't resist. His name's Ted Angle, and we married in my senior year, so I quickly changed my major to education because I knew I wasn't going to Paris, France. I was going to Winnemucca and Ely and Tonopah, Nevada, and we spent 25 years in rural Nevada. He had a job with the federal government. He worked for the Bureau of Land Management. I call him sometimes the Daniel Boone of Nevada. People say, how did you start out in politics? And really, it was when my son failed kindergarten. I was told that he needed to go back for a second year of kindergarten, and during that experience, that second year, he was just totally demoralized by it. He felt that he was a failure, he was a flunker, he didn't want to go back to school. Every morning he was thinking of excuses not to go to school, he was sick or whatever. And I thought, oh my goodness, I have a 6-year-old dropout, I need to do something. And as an educator, I thought the best thing would be to just homeschool this boy. And so in pursuit of homeschooling, another couple and I, my husband and I, we decided to homeschool our children. They took their kids out before I took mine out, and the school district sued them. Told them that if they didn't put those kids back into school, they would be charged with truancy and their children would be put into foster care. A judge then made the decision for that school district saying that even though our state law said that you could homeschool your children, the law should say that you can't homeschool your children unless you live more than 50 miles away from the nearest school. And that was when I realized the government had interfered with my life and with my children's lives. And I realized at that time that I needed to be more involved than just a voter. And then from there I served on a school board and in the state legislature. Within that whole school choice argument, some of the folks that have brought this to the forefront, the basic issue that they were compelled with into the movement was this idea of why can't we discuss both creation and evolution? They're both theories. Why don't we give our children the choice? Can't we take our opinions to the public square, discuss this, and come up with, something that we can discuss in the public schools or even in the public square? And
it's fair to say there's still, or a sense of definite fire in your belly for potentially elective office in the future, whether it be at Nevada or national level.
Certainly,
fair assumption on my part.
Well, I think once you enter this arena and you realize that it takes courage. People really need to confront these things, and it takes some courage. And our founding fathers wanted us to be involved. They gave us a government of the people, by the people, and for the people, and they expected we, the people, to be the representatives, not some ruling elite class of career politicians. They wanted us as people to come into that arena, serve for a while, and then go back to our own jobs. And of course now we're hitting up against something that we've wondered about as Americans. One of the most amazing things that was said to me on the campaign trail was a mother with about a 9-year-old boy, and she says, "I want to thank you for what you've done for my son." And I thought she meant, generations to come. And she said, "No, specifically my son. I told my son that he could become the President of the United States, but I wasn't sure it was possible because it seems like you have to have money or position, something that recommends you besides just being a citizen. And yet you're a citizen, and you have come from citizenry to this position where you could win one of the highest offices in the United States.